The draft is just a few days away, and today I have a full first round mock draft. This is going to be a combination of what I think is going to happen in real life and who I think are going to be the best players from this draft class. So let's just go ahead and get right into this. At number 1, of course, we got CJ Stroud. Now, Bryce Young is an option here, obviously, and Anthony Richardson is, I guess you could even consider him an option. But CJ Stroud is the most likely option because I think Frank Reich is going to want a quarterback with size like CJ Stroud. Bryce Young would quite literally be the smallest quarterback in NFL history. So I think that would be a very risky pick at number 1 overall. And I think the Panthers are definitely leaning towards Stroud, and that's what the reports say. Even though I think Bryce Young could be a better player in the future. And I do have Bryce Young going number 2 overall to the Texans. If I'm the Texans in this situation, I'm very happy because Bryce Young is a stud. The only real thing about him, as I said, is his size. But, he's still able to see over the middle of the field and make good passes. So hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. And with CJ Stroud, his biggest weakness, in my opinion, is handling pressure. His accuracy takes a significant hit when he's not throwing from a clean pocket. So I think that is a bit of an issue for him, but I think he can definitely fix that at the NFL level. So those are the first 2 picks. I don't think there's any other way that should go. At number 3, I think Will Anderson should be going to Arizona. Now, the Cardinals do have a opportunity to trade down because, of course, they're entering a rebuild. This is the first spot where you could really consider trading down because maybe they'll want some more draft capital for the future, for maybe later in this draft or future drafts. But I think Will Anderson Jr. is possibly the best player in the draft, and I think they have to stick and pick because Will Anderson is an absolute stud. He's not the flashiest player. He's strong. He's fast. I think he has everything you need to be a great edge rusher in the NFL. And at number 4, the Colts, of course, are on the clock. And you could take Will Levis here, but I think Anthony Richardson is a better player. I think him going number 4 overall is definitely a possibility. Of course, there is a lot to be desired with the accuracy of Anthony Richardson, but he is an absolutely incredible athlete. And if everything goes right, I think he will be incredible at the NFL level. The Colts in the past have drafted first-round quarterbacks and had a lot of success with it. They drafted Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, of course, in the first round. Now, of course, those 2 guys are pocket passers, and Anthony Richardson is probably going to have to just use his athleticism, at least to start, as he develops his accuracy and arm. But, I think Anthony Richardson would be great for the Colts as a developmental project. And at number 5, we got the Seahawks. Now, this is between 2 players, in my opinion. Jalen Carter out of Georgia and Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. I think drafting anybody else would be a bit of a reach. Of course, the Seahawks need help on the defensive line. Now, Jalen Carter, of course, has character concerns. As you can see, just based off of PFF's grade, he is the 2nd-ranked player in the draft, but average drafted position, which is what ADP means, is 6.2. And the reason for that is his character concerns. So, I think if Jalen Carter doesn't go number 5, he will go number 6. But reports have been saying that maybe the Seahawks would be looking for someone who doesn't have the off-the-field issues. And I think Tyree Wilson is that guy. He is very good. And, he is, I think, the 2nd-best edge rusher in the class. And, of course, at number 6, I do have Jalen Carter going to the Detroit Lions. The Lions need some interior defensive linemen. Of course, they drafted Aiden Hutchinson last year, but I think they could use a defensive tackle like Jalen Carter. Now, number 7, the Raiders are on the clock. Now, this depends on whether the Raiders will draft someone to help them out in the future, like Will Levis, a quarterback that could possibly be the QB of the future, or if they want someone who could help them right now, today. And that could be a guy like Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois or Christian Gonzalez. There's a couple options here, but I think we're going to have some fun, and we're going to draft Will Levis, number 7 overall, to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, there's been a lot of buzz around Will Levis. Some people hate him. Some people really like him. I think the biggest knock on him is the fact that he's 24 years old and, quite frankly, struggled very heavily last year, even though he's playing people that are 2 years younger than him. So it's I think that's definitely questionable, but he's got a great arm. He could be a Josh Allen type player if he's developed properly. And I think him going number 7 would be great for the Raiders. At number 8 is the Atlanta Falcons, and this is a spot where I think they should address edge rusher. Ideally, they would want a guy like Tyree Wilson to fall to them, but I don't think that's very likely to happen in real life. Of course, they just traded for Jeff Okuda, who wasn't great in Detroit, obviously, but at least they got somebody to take a chance on. So now they might not have to draft a cornerback like Devon Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez. They could try to address the O-line, maybe take a receiver, but the Falcons picked at this exact same spot last year and drafted Drake London. So it'll be interesting if they want to spend another high draft pick on a receiver. But I think I'm going to scroll down here a little bit and take Lucas Van Ness. Now, I think in most draft classes, he would be the first or second best edge rusher, but this is a very good edge rusher class. So, yeah, he is the third best in the class, in my opinion. Now, he could also play interior defensive line because he has a lot of power to him. He has speed, but he is a power guy. So it's interesting that he will be playing off the edge, but I think he's great, and he should be going higher in the draft than a lot expect. At number 9, the Bears are on the clock. Now, this is probably between tackle and corner because, they could address other positions on the line like guard, but I think it would be a heavy reach to go with a guy like Osiris Torrance this early in the draft. They could also address D-line, get a guy like Kalijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh, but I think Devon Witherspoon would be great for the Bears. They haven't had great cornerback play in a while, so it would be great for them to take Devon Witherspoon. And now at number 10, I think this is a super interesting spot for the Eagles because they could easily trade down, but I don't know. I'm not huge on draft day trades because they're so hard to predict. Of course, there's a high likelihood that some are going to happen in the first round, but they're so hard to predict. So I'm just going to have the Eagles sticking and picking. Of course, they like to draft linemen, and I think Peter Skoronski would be great because he can play tackle, but he does have shorter arms, which is a concern, I guess. So he could be moving over to guard. I think he can play both positions. If you need to, you could even put him at center, but that's only if you're really desperate. I think he can play guard and tackle very well. And of course, the Eagles love beefing up the offensive and defensive line. So I think this would be a great fit for the Eagles, getting the best offensive lineman in the class at number 10. At number 11, the Titans are on the clock, and they need receiver very badly, obviously. Quentin Johnston's on the board. They could also try to get a guy like Jordan Addison at the receiver position, who for some reason is ranked as the 30th best player in the draft, which I think that's definitely underrating him a lot. But anyways, at number 11, they could also take an offensive lineman, but the best one in the class just got taken. So this is a really interesting spot. I think this might be a bit of a reach, but I got Jordan Addison going number 11. PFF has him as the 4th best receiver in the class. In my opinion, he is the best. Out of USC, he's great, and I think the Titans could use him a lot because they have been needing receiver for a while now. Even when they did have A.J. Brown, it was always a big need. But now that he's gone, obviously, they need receivers. So I think Jordan Addison would be great. And at number 12, the Texans are on the board. They could go with another receiver here. JSN is still on the board, who might be the best receiver in the class. They could go with the defensive lineman. I'm very high on Kalijah Kancey. A lot of people have been underrating him, I think. I think he could go here, potentially. But, this is a really interesting spot. They could also go with tackle. But, what I've been doing is giving them JSN, so I think we're going to keep it that way. If I'm the Texans, I'm very happy with this pick. Only problem is that JSN is probably a slot-only guy, and I'm not sure if the Texans will want that, but I think it would be a great fit, especially because they just drafted Bryce Young, so this would be incredible. Texans fans haven't had a lot to be excited for in the past few years, and I think JSN and Bryce Young would be a great pairing. So, I think that's a great pick for them. And at number 13, the Jets desperately need tackle. I think the second best guy on the board is Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. He's got size. He could potentially even be the best tackle in the class because of his high upside. And I think that is a very easy pick for the Jets. At number 14, the Patriots are on the clock. And I know that this is, a lot of tackles have been flying off the board, but there's still some good ones. And the Patriots definitely need tackle. They could also take an edge rusher. A guy like Nolan Smith or Myles Murphy would be cool. But I think this is Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, who's been flying up draft boards recently. And I think number 14 is a good spot for him to go. And at number 15, we got the Packers. We still don't know what's happening with Aaron Rodgers, but that's probably why it says quarterback is one of their biggest needs. Of course, they do need receiver, but they're not historically known for drafting receivers. So I don't think that's really in play. They could go with someone on the defensive line, and I think Kalijah Kancey being here on the board is still a good option for the Packers. And at number 16, we got the Commanders, who are obviously in a position to trade. Well, maybe not now, but they could have traded up maybe for like number 10 with the Eagles. Could have traded up to maybe go get a quarterback. But I think if you're the Commanders, you're in a great position. Christian Gonzalez, who's potentially the best corner in the draft, had an incredible combine. He's still on the board. I think he is a great pick for the Commanders here. At number 17, if you're the Steelers, you're in a tough situation because they desperately need defensive back, and the best two just got picked. Still a couple guys on the board, and I think Joey Porter Jr. is just a given. Of course, the original Joey Porter played in Pittsburgh, so I think this is an incredible fit for the Steelers. I think he would be great, and I think a lot of Steelers fans would want this too, so I think this would be great. At number 18, the Lions are on the board. Of course, with the number 6 pick, they were able to get Jalen Carter, which is a huge win for them. So at number 18, if a receiver like JSN was still on the board, maybe they would go for him. But I think this is a position where they could just go best player on the board. They could take a corner because they traded away Jeff Okudah. So I think Deonte Banks is a good pick here. And as you can see, a lot of corners have been flying off the board. The last 3 picks were corners, and Devon Witherspoon went a little bit earlier. But corners have been flying off the board, and the Buccaneers desperately need corners. So this is an interesting position because Brian Branch can play safety, but he can also play nickel corner. He's a great coverage guy. I think he would be a great pick for the Buccaneers. Of course, they are losing some depth at the cornerback position, so this would be great for them. And really overall, post Tom Brady, the Bucs just need to reset, and I think a guy like Brian Branch would be very helpful in their rebuild. So I got him going number 19 to the Bucs. At number 20, the Seahawks are on the clock. Earlier in the draft, I had them going with Tyree Wilson. So at number 20, I think this is a really easy pick for them. I think they go with the best guard available, and in my opinion, that is Osiris Torrance. They have been needing linemen for a while, and I think this would be great for them. So, at number 20, I think that is a good pick for them. At number 21, the Chargers. Now, this is a position where they could go with somebody like a Zay Flowers who has straight speed. They could get a guy like Bijan Robinson, which I think would be super interesting. But I think they should just go Quentin Johnston. I think this would be a good pick for them. They need to try and develop him because he is a very raw prospect, but I think they definitely can develop him. They're used to getting a lot of these guys with size, but, Quentin Johnston doesn't really play to his size because he can't win those 50-50 balls that you would want him to, but you never know. The Chargers could develop him into a great player, and him still being on the board is great for the Chargers. Now, if you're the Ravens, I think this is a very easy pick. He could have been picked at pick 21, but I think Zay Flowers is great. He's got a lot of speed. If maybe Quentin Johnston were to fall to 22, I think that would also be an easy pick. But either way, I do have the Ravens taking a receiver at number 22. And now at 23, the Vikings do also need receiver. But, I'm not exactly sure if that will be on the top of their list, especially if all the receivers that are worth taking are gone. They could go with a guy like Jalen Hyatt here, but I don't think they will be taking receiver. I think Brian Brzee is underrated out of Clemson. A lot of people have been, having him fall out of the first round. I don't think that's going to happen. I think at number 23, that is a good pick for the Vikings. At number 24, I think this is easy. Dalton Kincaid to the Jaguars. Now, they did franchise tag Evan Ingram, but I think having another weapon like Dalton Kincaid would be absolutely incredible. So at 24, I think that is another easy pick. At 25, the Giants are on the clock. Now, this is not an easy pick. They need receiver. A lot of receivers are already gone. They need safety and linebacker, and there's not a lot of good ones left. They also need center, which there's not that many great centers in this draft. They could go with a guy like Luke Whippler, but I don't think that's the best option. This is a really interesting spot because there are still some good guys on the board. I think Bijan Robinson would be really, really cool. But I'm just going to have them taking Emmanuel Forbes. Maybe, help out on that defensive side of the ball. They could go with Nolan Smith to play edge rusher. They could go with Miles Murphy. I think they actually do need corner a little bit, so Emmanuel Forbes would be great for them. At 26, we got the Cowboys, and this is a given in my opinion. Bijan Robinson going 26 would be incredible. One of the best running back prospects I've seen in a while. And I think him going in the first round is definitely a possibility. He could drop to the second round, but I think he should be a first-round pick, and the Cowboys is obviously a great spot for him to go. At 27, the Bills, they do need defensive back. There's still a couple on the board. I think this is just a position where they go best guy available and take Nolan Smith. A lot of upside. Of course, the injury doesn't help, but I think he has a lot of upside and definitely should be going in the first round. At 28, the Bengals, and I think this is a position where they could take tight end. Michael Mayer is incredible. This is a great tight end class. So there's some other guys they could go with. If Dalton Kincaid were to fall this far, I think he would be a great pick. Of course, there is Darnell Washington out of Georgia, who's great as well. But I think Michael Mayer is the second best tight end in the class, and the Bengals should definitely consider picking him. At 28 is the Saints, and I think this is a position where they just go best guy available and take Myles Murphy, who is an incredible edge rusher out of Clemson. And here we are, almost at the end of the draft. Just two more picks. The two teams that met in the Super Bowl, the Eagles and the Chiefs. So at number 10, I gave the Eagles an offensive lineman, so obviously they don't need a guy like Anton Harrison here. At 30, now I think this is a position where they could go a lot of different ways. They could go with the receiver here realistically, and I think that is actually a really, really good option. So you know what? Josh Downs going number 30 overall is a possibility, and I think it could happen. I think that is probably one of the last receivers that is going to be going this high in the draft. There might be a bit of a drop-off. As I said, Jalen Hyatt is still an option. Wow, he is very low on this draft board, though. Where is Jalen Hyatt? Oh, is he on the second page, or did I miss him? Wow. Okay, well, maybe I'm a little too high on Jalen Hyatt. I thought he would be like at least maybe a second-round pick, but I guess PFF has him a lot lower. But anyways, that's aside from the point. Here we are finally with the last pick in the draft. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs at 31. Of course, there would be 32 picks in the draft, but the Dolphins had their pick forfeited. So at 31, the Chiefs could go a couple different ways. I think tackle is still a position of need for them, and I think the best one left on the board is Broderick Jones. So that's the draft. I think it's super interesting the way this went. If I had another chance to do this, I might have went a different way with some of these picks. I hope Giants fans don't get mad at me for giving them Emmanuel Forbes. I know some people aren't as high on him as I am, but other than that, I think this was a pretty solid mock draft. I think Lucas Van Ness at number 8 was super interesting. Jordan Addison at 11 might be a little too high, but I think he is actually a really good player, despite what a lot of people are saying that he's not a top 2-3 receiver in the class. I think he definitely is. But the rest of this draft I think was really good. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for the support on the last few videos. We've been breaking a lot of records on this channel, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. If you guys want to see another mock draft, let me know in the comment section below, but I think this was a really solid one. Of course, the actual draft will be a lot different than this because mock drafts never are accurately able to predict what happens in the draft. That's just the way it is. Teams could go a very different direction than what we expect, but hope you guys enjoyed. That's it for me. I'll see you all in the next one.